It all comes down to this one race left in the round of 8. 4 drivers will be eliminated, 4 will move on the quest to win a championship in the championship 4 round across 3 final races. We come in seed number 1, 33 points above the cut line. Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Ty Gibbs all as well look to join me in the final 4 as Ross Chastain and Christopher Bell have some work to do. Meanwhile, Chase Briscoe and Joey Logano find themselves in a must-win scenario coming into this final race of the round of 8 here in Mid-Ohio, our final road course race of the season. Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new episode of the NASCAR Heat 5 Career Mode. I hope you're all having a great day. We got the brand new Irwin Tools colors on the car this weekend. DMoney whipped up a beautiful paint scheme for this 19. You'll as well see these colors on other Joe Gibbs cars, specifically next season as we kick off our qualifying here from Mid-Ohio. An exciting weekend as we finally come into the round of 8 elimination race in a position to actually advance into the final 4. We have yet to make it in the final 4, and this is our fourth full-time season, and we are trying to make it for the first time, and we come in comfortably above the cut line, 33 points the margin. So we just have to get through this weekend. We just got to basically survive and don't do anything stupid. Meanwhile, Chase Elliott is in a fairly comfortable position as well. He's kind of got to do the same thing as me. Just get through this weekend. He'll be in the final 4 for, I think, a third time in 4 seasons of this career mode, and what a feat that is. Kyle Larson as well, looking to make the final 4 for a third time. So he is 17 points above the cut line. Not perfect, but still fairly comfortable if nothing goes wrong at least. And of course, Ty Gibbs 10 points above the cut line. As long as he can run top 10, he should be okay. As we hit a 122.089, we go road to P4. A great qualifying effort here from Mid-Ohio. And you're going to see Connor Zilisch, Rookie of the Year contender, on pole over Chase Elliott. Chastain 10 points below the cut line. P3, Brody Kostecki in the field this weekend. He starts in 7th position. Jordan Taylor is in for Project 91 as well. Ty Gibbs in 17th. Christopher Bell in 18th. As of right now, Chastain would be in if it finished like this, and Ty Gibbs would be their first driver out immediately. We start with some pressure on Ty Gibbs coming into this weekend. Joey Logano, Briscoe, not great starting positions. Briscoe, though, P9, could make something happen. It was also the elimination race for the round of 8 in the Xfinity Series, also at Mid-Ohio, and unfortunately for Daniel Suarez and a few drivers below the cut line who ran great, drivers above the cut line still did enough. And you see the finishing orders on your screen, but the playoff grid, the final 4 will be Taylor Gray, Brandon Jones, Ryan Truex, and Justin Allgaier. So Joe Gibbs Racing versus JRM, the Hendrick kind of alliance team, as we look to make it Joe Gibbs versus Hendrick in the Cup Series for the final 4. Let's head to the round of 8 elimination race on Sunday.
It all comes down to this. One race to determine who advances into the championship 4. Ty Gibbs is in most danger against Ross Chastain and Christopher Bell.
Watch out for some strategy calls that could change everything today. Keep an eye on Larson as well. He is not safe.
Right, guys, thank you for the hard work from everybody this season and this playoff. Let's just get through today and focus on that final 4.
Race hard but smart. Let's get through today.
Let's get through today. That's kind of the main quote there. You see Jordan Taylor in for Project 91. We'll see Brody Kostecki from Supercars throughout the day as well, who had a way better qualifying effort than Taylor did. As Connor Zilisch, Chase Elliott the front row. Zilisch leads the field to green, a sight that I'm sure we will see quite a bit next season when he makes his full-time bid at Trackhouse in his second season of Cup Series racing. Behind, I got SVG, Shane Van Gisbergen there alongside Ryan Blaney now as we head down towards this short run towards turn number 2. We're just going to settle in right here behind the 9 of Elliott now. Zilisch early out in front, clear, heading away down this second straightaway, and of course a very long straightaway, a very heavy braking zone when we get to the end of it at that right-hander, but we are able to get past Ross Chastain, who's in need, of course, of 10 points to gain on Ty Gibbs now. And actually, we overshoot the corner a little bit, and that's going to be a free position right there for Chastain. He'll take P3 back. We maintain P4. SVG still scrapping it out side by side with Ryan and Blaney just behind us now as we continue on in the 4th position. As Zilish is now under pressure from Chase Elliott. I'm slipping and sliding here. 6 laps in stage 1. Plenty of time for things to go wrong or right, hopefully, for us now as we continue on. But Elliott is continuously putting pressure on Zilish. He definitely has the faster car. Zilish with a great qualifying lap, just like he did at Watkins Glen. Had a great start, but he didn't quite have the speed, and I think we're seeing the same thing here. Elliott going for the lead, side by side out of the final turn for that front position. Ross Chastain's joining the battle. He needs all the points he can get as they head down towards turn 1. Chastain forces it 3 wide up the inside. A desperation move from a desperate driver. Chastain to the point, but Elliott would stick the nose up the inside through turn 2 as I join the mix and bring Shane Van Gisbergen and others with me. To the back of the 1 of Chastain, we push him out in front of Zilish as Elliott retakes the lead, and up to 3rd place we go on lap 2 of 6 in the stage. Only 1 lap complete, and it's already been a heck of a first opening lap here in Mid-Ohio as we get slammed from Zilish from behind and sailed off into the sand. And we're going to try and get this car recovered, but outside of the top 10 I imagine will be. We get the car recollected, trying to rejoin actually in a safe manner, not just throw my car back on the track in front of everyone. My teammate of Chandler Smith and Christopher Bell have joined us. Bell nearly missed out on the top 20 in qualifying, and he's up to P10. What a drive from the 20, as he could even be in position to overtake Ty Gibbs on points, depending on how he finishes as he looks for P9. Chandler Smith having another strong run. He has run a lot better since about the late regular season, or playoffs specifically, have started in this season. He has certainly turned things up. We'll have to wait and see how that affects him next season behind the wheel of the 18. Reddick trying to put some pressure on. Last episode winner from Talladega, Justin Haley in the mix just behind us. Will go around the outside of our teammate of Chandler Smith. Into P10 we go, and Christopher Bell in 9th place. What an interesting start to this race. What a hectic first lap and a half. And now things start to settle down as we try to run down that 20 DeWalt Toyota Camry of Christopher Bell. And I'm struggling a little bit there going for a slide. Thank goodness we save it. So we recover, we get back going. And as we come towards the end of lap 3, now Kyle Busch is going to lose a spot to Christopher Bell. Bell is on the move in that number 20. Meanwhile, Ty Gibbs is going nowhere behind us. That is not good for Gibbs, who we thought was going to be getting to the Final Four for the 2nd consecutive season. Now it looks like it could be Chastain, depending on how he does as we clear Kyle Busch. Trackhouse having a very solid effort right now. All 3 full-time cars in the top 10, but Project 91's Jordan Taylor not in the top 10 currently. Busch fights back around the left side. Now I have the right side outside lane here on the exit of the left-hander, and we're going to try and clear this 99 right there. And now we maintain that 9th position. Bell continuing to move forward. He's putting some pressure now. I believe that's on the back of Austin Cindric there in the 06 for Meyer Shank Racing, and I make the same mistake again. Coming to the final lap of the stage, we go wide and catch the gravel again, and now we get it recollected, but Kyle Busch is going to go through, and so is Chandler Smith now. 2 laps of field warning light comes on, but of course we can make it to the end of the stage as we have trouble. Ross Chastain. Chastain is slow from P2. Smoke pouring out of the back of his Trackhouse Honda Civic. It's going to be day over and season over for Ross Chastain. He was having a P2 run, and it's going to be devastating blows to the one team now. Chastain's hopes from getting in over Gibbs comes to an end, and now it's going to be a straight up fight between Gibbs and his teammate of Christopher Bell, and oh my goodness, everyone's joining this battle. We'll go around Chastain. That puts us P11 because Brody Kostecki was able to sneak past me now as we head down towards the right-hander, and now side by side with Brody Kostecki here for the RCR and 3 Friends Racing collaborative entry. Brody Kostecki, of course, very successful in Australian supercars racing as we now run P10 again. We take that 10th spot back, but Kostecki sends it up the inside. Nearly runs into the back of me as we continue this dogfight for only P10. I know we have a car way better than P10, but it's just not been the stage that we've needed. But I mean, we're in good shape nonetheless going forward now, is side by side with that 30. Of course, Kostecki, very strong on these road courses, and you can see he's going to be able to go back through, getting very physical, but Chase Elliott wins stage number 1, doing exactly what he needs to do. I would end up getting ahead of Kostecki, but sailed it off into the corner so hard that he was able to actually get back past me, so we're going to bring it back home for no stage points here in stage 1, but it's fine because we have such an advantage in the points that we're not really that concerned. P11 in stage 1. What a stage 1 it was, and we are as well are going to take a look here in just a moment because we need to see what the live points look like now. But of course, Ross Chastain, we know his day is over. Very heartbreaking end to his season here. How about Kyle Larson? He drove up to P2 after the just chaos that everybody seemed to find themselves in. That's a great stage for Larson to put himself in a bit better position going into the start of this next stage. Christopher Bell picked up a few stage points as well. He was able to get all the way up to 5th, but loses 2 spots in the pits. We're going to go back green, and you're going to see the live points on your screen following stage 1. Chase Elliott back to the top, 34 points above the cut line. Myself still 33 points, 26 points now for Kyle Larson, and Ty Gibbs has that 10-point margin, but now it's not over Ross Chastain, it's over Christopher Bell. Chastain is still 10 points behind, but we know, obviously, he can't make up anything. He is out of the race. Chase Briscoe, Joey Logano, simply put, have to win this race now as we head down this second straightaway, this long back straightaway, I like to call it now, into the back of the 20 of Christopher Bell. Give him a nice shot to the bumper to give him a push in towards the heavy braking zone. Larson went from 2nd all the way outside of the top 5 on this restart. Now here comes Justin Haley up my left side. Chase Elliott is lights out quick behind us. How about Joey Logano? He's 3 wide in the middle, scrapping it out with the likes of Kyle Busch, trying to move his way forward as Logano had an unbelievable season that's coming to an end here. There's no way he has the speed to win this race, you can tell already, but just what a season it was, because Logano had a horrific first half of season, announced he was going to retire, and then of course Ryan Blaney announced shortly after he was going to leave Penske Racing. Joey Logano turns the season around, wins at Pocono, but then just goes on a tear and then announces he's going to return instead of retire next season. And I'm excited to see what Logano can do behind the wheel of that 22 going forward, because it's like a newly found momentum. Great playoff run, winning at Kentucky a few races ago before we started the round of 8, but unfortunately for Logano, crashed out early in stage 1 at Miami in the first race of the round of 8 and was only able to pick up 1 point in Talladega after an abysmal day. He has only scored 2 points this entire round. It's been a complete disaster, worst case scenario, literally the bare minimum of points you could get in the first 2 races, and he has to win, and it's not going to happen today. Now as Bell is struggling with traffic, we're going to take advantage. We're going to go around the outside here of our Joe Gibbs Racing teammate, making sure I leave him plenty of room, because obviously they're in a very interesting position there where it's my 2 teammates that are racing for the final spot in the Final Four to join me there. But as it stands right now, we talked about it, is we're going to go for a 3-wide move on Kostecki and Zilish, but the Xfinity Series Final Four is 2 Joe Gibbs cars and 2 Junior Motorsports cars, and we know, of course, Junior Motorsports affiliation with Hendrick Motorsports, and on the Cup Series side, we currently have 2 Joe Gibbs cars and 2 Hendrick cars going into the Final Four. So it's Xfinity and Cup Series brawl here between basically the same 2 teams, kind of. It's going to be really interesting to watch that Final Four, but we as well know with the playoff changes, the Final Four is 3 races, so keep that in mind. It's not a 1 race winner take all. I'm very excited to see how that's going to play out now. And we look at the round of 8. Chase Elliott and myself, we've been so close on points in both races, and we still find ourselves only 1 point apart with a couple of stages left to go here. Now as we are reeling in some traffic, Austin Cindric, a few races left with his NASCAR career, and as well for Meyershank Racing before they take a leave from the sport. Now Kyle Larson going through back into P5. How about Chandler Smith in 4th place, having a great run, currently the best running Joe Gibbs driver. We'll go around the outside of Austin Cindric. He fights back up the left side here, but we're going to have the run down the straightaway, actually dipping our right sides into the grass there. Chase Elliott long gone down the road. Ryan Blaney as well up there in 2nd place, and then it's Shane Van Gisbergen, and now Kyle Larson back up into 4th as we are going to try and run down Chandler Smith. Fuel light comes on. Elliott and Blaney are already into the pits, and we're coming into the pits, but hold on. Huge impact for the 24. William Byron crashes head on into the soft tire barrier, and the caution flies. That is going to allow Elliott and Blaney to complete their stops and come out as the leaders, because they were already in the pits when the caution came out. Everybody else hadn't even made it to the pit lane yet. So we're all going to pit for 4 tires and feel. I believe Byron is still in the race. We'll have to double check on that. But we're going to box and we come in P6. We gain 2 spots. We're P4, row 2, just behind the 12 and the 9, side by side with Shane Van Gisbergen, and it's only going to be 1 lap. It's a 1-lap dash here for stage 2. Who's going to get it? Ryan Blaney eliminated from the playoffs, and it just goes to show that the timing of the playoffs changes everything, because we started the playoffs early. Blaney would still be in the playoffs if the playoffs started at the usual time and not the earlier time that it does with our new playoff system, as the game, of course, still has the old playoff system that it factors in. Blaney, speaking of him, takes the lead here in stage 2 on the final lap. Shane Van Gisbergen got aggressive. I'm going to get aggressive. We want to get that 9 car back as far as we can. The situation between Bell and Gibbs, that's going to be an interesting one that we'll pay a lot closer attention to as this race goes on. Now, SVG near clear. He gets a shot from the back from the 9 of Elliott there, who just shoves him off into the corner. We're wheel to wheel with the Trackhouse driver, the New Zealander, who's still winless on this season, trying to find victory lane for the first time. It just hasn't been the season of success in terms of wins for Shane Van Gisbergen, but still a great season nonetheless here as we come up on these final moments of the stage, and it's all Ryan Blaney. Blaney through the final turn in the left-hander. He's going to come through to win stage 2. Shane Van Gisbergen and myself second, third, Kostecki fourth over Chase Elliott, and Christopher Bell gets P10. That's 1 point, and Ty Gibbs still a ways behind. Now, as the caution flies, we are not going to pit here. We will stay on the racetrack. Bell scoring that 1 point is going to put it down to 9 points between himself and Ty Gibbs. We'll look at the rest of the playoff grid here in just a second. Gibbs just barely inside the top 20. This is going to get interesting now. We'll restart P3. You see the live playoff grid. It's going to come up on your screen right about now, and there you see 40 points the gap for myself. We're back on top. Chase Elliott 39 points above the cut line, so both myself and Elliott are safe. We're totally fine unless something goes historically wrong. That's just not going to happen. Kyle Larson 28 points above the cut line, very comfortable there as well. Something would have to go horrifically wrong as I completely blow through turn 2, and it actually kind of works out now. But Gibbs is 9 points in front of Christopher Bell, but starting the stage, of course, it's going to be very, very close between those two. 9 points, 9 positions is all it takes now. Bell, if he beats Gibbs by 9 points, they will tie. It will, of course, go to a tiebreaker at that point now. Brody Kostecki gets knocked by Chase Elliott. Elliott's been getting aggressive. He shoved Shane Van Gisbergen in that same corner last lap in stage 2, and now here he is knocking the back of Kostecki this time around as we continue in P3. A good start here to stage 3, and a nice rebound from, of course, where we were earlier in this race back in stage number 1, right on the back of that 97 now, as we're closing in already towards the final 10 laps of racing here from Mid-Ohio. Ryan Blaney trying to run away with victory and set sail and say see you later, but there's a lot of racing, and we've seen these road courses, they can change very quickly with just a poor timed caution up the inside of the 97 into the braking zone, and a huge shot from behind now. Kostecki overshoots, runs into the back of us. Somehow we avoid chaos there with the 97, but SVG re-clears me, and now we're wheel to wheel with Kostecki. We had a bit of a scrap earlier with them at the end of stage number 1. Now we chop his nose. There goes Elliott trying to fight with that number 30 now as we continue on, actually sideways there, and now we recollected but went a little bit wide, and Kostecki fights back. Now Kostecki very much fitting into the NASCAR type of driving style, getting aggressive, getting physical, but just isn't quite enough there. We are able to stay in front of him as Elliott continues to put pressure on him, and so does Larson. Christopher Bell, he's driving forward as well, so that's going to be a huge pressure moment for Ty Gibbs right now as Bell looks to to make it into the Final Four. Him and Elliott both seeking redemption for last season after they were both in position to fight head-to-head for the championship, and they lost it to Ty Gibbs. Now, Gibbs, of course, wants to defend his Cup championship. He's been determined all season long to do it and prove everybody wrong and say, hey, I did deserve a NASCAR Cup Series championship. Doesn't matter how it came, as now the fuel light comes on with 11 laps to go. Chase Elliott is in 4th. He's right here behind us now, and Christopher Bell is currently in P6, so watch out for that number 20 as we're going to all come into the pit lane at the end of lap 25. It's a very simple call. 2 cans of fuel, 4 tires. Some drivers are going to stay on the racetrack as well. We'll come in for the 4 tires. It's a 15.1 second pit stop here. So yeah, a very solid pit stop. It should get us out, hopefully, maybe even in front of the 97. Smoke from Ryan Preece. Caution is going to fly as they head to the left side to put new tires on there. And okay, that's going to really spice things up. At the time of the caution, I think we're the leader. I think we're going to be the leader here because at the time of the caution, the field is frozen. Yeah, we are the first car now that made the pit stop. So everybody that just stayed out on the track has to pit. They're going to have extra fuel than us. Ty Gibbs stays out. So that's going to be interesting. He'll be pitting. This is going to certainly have the ability to change some things around. But we are leading. And now Kyle Larson is joining us on the front row. So as we get ready for this restart, how many laps are left? It's going to be just under 10 to go. 7 laps of racing. And we only have 6 laps of fuel. A full tank of fuel will get you about 6 laps. You can maybe stretch it to 7, but as well, I'm curious to see what this is going to look like. But I think that we're going to see as well the other drivers that just pitted under caution, although we virtually pitted at the exact same time. I believe that those guys that pitted under the caution might be able to get a little bit extra fuel than us. So that's really going to make things interesting here as we head down into the heavy braking zone. We got the lead and now we're trying to run away. This is a very similar tale to Watkins Glen. We didn't have the car that was the fastest. That was Shane Van Gisbergen. But we were in position to win the race. When we needed some help, we got the help. SVG had a bad pit stop. Well, today it's Chase Elliott who's the fastest car. Ryan Blaney as well is faster than me. Well, they both are down the order a little bit now, so suddenly we find ourselves again in position to capitalize, but don't count out Kyle Larson here coming towards these final 5 laps of racing. Larson filling up my mirror and actually running into the back of us. Larson's gonna sail us into the corner, crashing behind. Austin Cindric slams into the barrier through the gravel trap, and Larson hit us off the racetrack. We collected it a lot better than last time in stage 1, so we maintain P3. Christopher Bell in P4 right now. Ty Gibbs is in shambles, knowing his season is about to be over, and he's gonna miss the Final Four to Christopher Bell, who's turned it up. Bell qualified alongside Gibbs. Thought it was going to be really not much of a fight at all, and then Christopher Bell drove away from the 54 and is driven up here into the mix. Kyle Larson leads over Blaney, but I'm going to repass this number 12 down the long straightaway with 5 laps to go. Back into P2, wanting to get to the back of that 5. We've had some run-ins with Larson over this playoff run, and there's another one added to the list. Blaney sends it up the inside, says hello, welcome back. I'm going to continue to fight as hard as I can to stay in front, and we do exactly that. And now he's under pressure from the DeWalt Toyota Camry of my teammate Christopher Bell as we try to focus now in on running down that 5 of Kyle Larson. It's going to be 4 laps to go. The gap is just over 1 second between myself and Larson now as Larson seeks his 6th win of the season. He hasn't won a single race inside the playoffs, but he's on cruise control to make the Final Four at least now as he looks to continue the quest to become a now 3-time NASCAR Cup Series championship. He won his 2nd title in the 2nd season. Spinner, the 28 of Connor Zillish, pole sitter, is going to go around, and surprisingly, this is going to bring out a caution and force a 2-lap dash, and we are going to box because we don't have enough fuel to make it to the end. And we are going to get really interesting here. I think we're going to see some split strategy. I think some are going to take less fuel than others. So let's see how this is going to shake up now. We're going to take a small amount of fuel, and we're actually going to take the lead of this race, and Carson Hocevar joins us, and there's the gap. Christopher Bell has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars between him and Ty Gibbs. Bell needs to gain positions as Gibbs would currently be in by just a couple of points. It's going to be very, very close. Gibbs basically needs to make sure he tries to tie Christopher Bell. 9 points, the gap starting the stage. Obviously, if there's 9 cars in between them, that means Gibbs is going to miss it by 1 point. He has to limit the cars between him and Christopher Bell to 8 cars only. That would tie the gap. So we'll have to just pay attention. 8 cars between Gibbs and Bell is a tie, and there's Gibbs sending it up the inside of the 11 of Corey Heim. There's Bell trying to drive away. Gibbs gets past Logano there. It's going to be interesting. We're going to pay close attention as we lead over Carson Hocevar, who took, I think, no fuel. And now as we head down towards the braking zone, he is going to be putting some pressure on us, and we put the pressure on ourselves. We've completely missed a corner. We overshoot. That's an embarrassing moment now, and Hocevar runs away. In the background, Gibbs is still trying to make up some track position, putting some pressure on the 88 and cars in front of him. The 2, the 99, he wants to get all of them. Now as we go down to P4, that was quite embarrassing. We were about to cruise to a win, and then I proceed to choke. And now it's Blaney and Elliott to follow Hocevar, Carson Hocevar, and Junior Motorsports. Can they win their first race as a Cup Series team right here in very unexpected fashion because of an awkwardly timed caution? Elliott and Blaney leaning on each other. 1 lap to go in the final race here of the round of 8 from Mid-Ohio, and it's all Carson Hocevar. There's Bell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cars in between Bell and Gibbs. Gibbs needs 2 positions to be able to tie the number 20. On a tiebreaker, Gibbs would get it as Bell runs 5th, which is just a bit shy of what Gibbs put up in Miami. Speaking of Gibbs, here he goes for a spot on the 2. He passes Ton Gilliland. He's side by side with Carruth. 1 position is what he needs to tie the 20 of Bell. As we head down into the heavy braking zone, Larson sends it up the inside of the 12. We run P3. Can we get to Chase Elliott? Can Elliott get to Hocevar? Here goes Gibbs now up the inside of the 48 again. Rajah Carruth trying to hold him back now, and Gibbs knows it's all on the line right here. The 2 of Gilliland's going to get him back. If Gilliland clears him, he needs 2 spots again, but as of right now, he stays ahead of the 2, and 1 position is what he needs. Gibbs has got the 2 taken care of. Can he get the 48 for the 1 point to tie Gibbs, or to tie Bell in these final moments now? Carson Hocevar, what a drive in overtime. He rounds the final few turns in a Dale Jr. throwback. A fitting way to deliver Junior Motorsports' first ever win, his second win as a Cup driver. P3 for us. And Bell is going to hang on. Gibbs is not going to get Carruth, and Christopher Bell is going to advance into the final 4 by 1 single point over his teammate of Ty Gibbs, who misses it in heartbreaking fashion. As there you see the finishing order on your screen. Myself, Elliott, Larson, we did everything that we needed to do. Ty Gibbs unfortunately didn't have what he needed. The only reason that Ty Gibbs even had a chance there was because he was able to take less than what some of the guys in front of him took there, and he was able to gain some track position after that caution, but obviously it still eventually didn't quite work out for Ty Gibbs. And you see now the playoff grid, and we advance by 44 points, and we tie with Chase Elliott. We were pretty well even with Chase Elliott the entire round of 8. Kyle Larson as well will join myself and Elliott and Christopher Bell in the final 4. Elliott, Larson, Bell, myself, final 4 drivers. Joe Gibbs Racing versus Hendrick Motorsports. Who's going to come out on top? 3 races: Darlington, Martinsville, and Charlotte Motor Speedway. It all kicks off in Darlington next episode for the final 4 in a quest for our first ever Cup Series championship. I'll see you guys then. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.